All right, you're ready to go whenever you want to start the meeting.
Excellent. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Policy Committee meeting on December 10th, 9 o'clock. I believe we're all here. The first item on the agenda, let me hop back over to that screen and scroll all the way up, is approval of minutes from the November 4th meeting. So have you all had an opportunity to go through the minutes?
Well, just you and I, Sharon.
How exciting.
Just you and
And
I.
what commas did you find misplaced, Mr. Gruder?
No, I only found one thing, which is I think we recommended to the BOE to sunset policy 2132 on principles. I didn't see that in the minutes.
20, what was it? 21,
2132.
2132. I'll double check that one.
Nope. No commas this time, Sharon.
Jody's just getting so sharp with her commas. Fabulous. Okay, so then, Michael, you want to make a motion for us to approve the minutes with
Yep,
the
motion to approve.
All right, thanks, and I second that.
Perfect.
So that goes forward. Next, I believe we have the policy website to take a look at. Hopefully, everyone's had a chance to play around with what Jody sent us. But Jody, you want to take it from here?
Just a quick update for you. Policy website is up and running. They've converted over everything that they possibly can convert over. There are just some old policies that are like photocopied PDFs that their conversion system cannot do for us. So I will continue to work on those manually little by little, but they're up and running for the most part, and we're good to go on it. I took down the old one, the new one is up, and I think it looks great.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yep.
agree.
All right.
Did anybody else have a chance to play around with it?
It's so organized, and the hyperlinks, it's just so convenient. So
I know.
thank you for
And the
that.
search tool, if
Yeah.
you use the search tool, it's
I did. In fact, I used the search tool on security. It was like, okay, here are the 24 policies,
Mhm.
which is really nice. So thank you for spearheading that. I appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome.
Yeah.
And I'll
Agreed.
keep plugging away at it.
Thank you.
Is
Thank
that
you. Thank you.
is that live from when we were on communication earlier this week and we linked over to policy? It was still the old system.
That I mentioned that to Dan when he had created the community expectations. They were linked over to the old one. He and I had a conversation right after that committee meeting, and we're working on changing that over.
Excellent. All right. Everyone good on the website? Ready to move forward? Fabulous. So let's start because we've got a lengthy agenda here today. So let's start with our discussion of the policies being brought back to the committee for review and or revision. So 2000, 2100, 2121, who wants to go with that? Is that you, Erica?
Yes, but Sharon, if you don't mind, before I do that, since Tracy is here, there is a policy 5144, a discipline policy that recently surfaced that Tracy is doing some work on, and I just wanted her to update and brief the committee on what's going on in case it surfaces at the board level for a first review. The work is ongoing. It's going to require a couple of reviews. It's a 54-page policy, but I thought I would just give her an opportunity so she doesn't have to stay through the rest of the policy to talk about it a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just so you know, it's policy 5114. And there is a pretty significant difference in length between our previous policy, but I wanted to highlight some of the key changes to this and underscore what Erica just said, which is there is a lot of work that needs to happen with this model policy that includes feedback and input from the building administrators. But essentially, we have uncovered that this policy needs to be updated for a few primary reasons. One, you might remember that we were required to adopt a school climate policy. And that school climate policy includes a new definition of bullying, which needs to be captured in this student discipline policy. There were also a number of statutory changes made pertaining to suspension and expulsion that need to be reflected in a policy, this policy specifically. And so there are updates around required timelines and kind of maximum durations for different types of discipline. I do want to highlight also today that the adoption of this policy, when we get there, again, we're not there yet, will also require us to take a look at the code of conduct and update some of the um, consequences, I'll call them, within that document. You'll remember that we did not attach that document to a policy specifically so that we can update it more regularly based on new information. So we'll be able to make those updates, but we first need to address this policy. We're putting it on your radar because it is lengthy. You can start to take a look at it. Please know that at the same time, we will be looking at this policy as an administrative team and addressing questions and discussion items that have been raised by the building administrators before we actually formally adopt it with the Board of Education. I hope that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. Is there, was there specific cause for us to have to address this policy, or is this something that's being mandated by the state?
Great question. It's mandated by the state, and we are trying to get to this as soon as possible, just to be transparent, because some of these mandates by the state have been in place for a period of time, and our policy needs to reflect those mandates.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. 54 pages on one policy. We'll want to start reading now because they're such fun reads. David, I'm sure you found this time around that we have a slight agenda here, and reading to prepare for our meetings is so much fun.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this extra lift at the policy. I thought the policy was like a cakewalk. I thought this was like really just, not
The Slacker committee, right?
right. Yeah, exactly. But I did have one question for you, Tracy, and this I'm not sure if this is the same policy, but I did scan through it quickly, did not read all 54 pages quite yet, and talks about things like in-school suspension or in whatever the wording is. I brought this up, I think, a year or two ago. When a student is expelled or it has in-school suspension, what the parents are notified, if I remember correctly, after the decisions made by the administrators. Is that this policy or that's a different policy?
This policy talks all about parent notification and the requirements for parent notification for all types of discipline. So any questions that you have about that would be good for when we have a more substantive discussion about this.
Okay.
Those are great questions, David. And I think, that's why we rely heavily on the Shipman model policy, because things like that are considered very carefully when drafting.
Yeah, that's my memory in 5 years of doing this.
That's a good memory.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Tracy, for bringing that to our attention. And I think we will all, thanks for the heads up. We'll start brushing up on that policy in particular. And unless there's anything else for you to add with any of these policies that we're going to be discussing, be free. Is that okay with you, Erica?
Yes, of course.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
You too. All right. So moving back to the agenda, Erica, I'll let you take it from here if that's okay with you.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it. So in looking at the 2000 series, if we could start there, I remember the previous policy meeting, we were looking to sunset some of these. However, at the board meeting, when they were on the agenda to sunset, there was some thought and consideration to go back to these policies and simply keep them if there was no harm in doing so. So they're back on this committee agenda for review. We can start with policy 2000, concepts and roles in administration. This is the existing policy in front of you. There is no recommended changes here, just simply a review so that we as, a community and you as a board can ensure that, there's a date on it. It lets the community know that it's been looked at, it's been reviewed, and that it's current. Any questions on concepts and roles in administration?
I have just a quick question as a newbie here. When a policy, like I understood the concept of retiring ones, and I understood the concept of just letting them live on in perpetuity, and I sort of was 50-50 on it. What happens when a policy that's pretty general, which this one is, like 2000, honestly, it doesn't seem to say much, and it's short, which is nice. What happens when a policy is in conflict? So if we have a newer policy that's, the policy that we're just talking about living on is from 1989, right? So presumably no changes, policy reviewed December 2025, it lives on. If there's another policy that's more specific, which one's the controlling policy? Is it the one that is like, is there a hierarchy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what happened, or does that not happen and don't worry about it?
So what you're referencing is similar to what Tracy was describing. The discipline policy has other layers of policy that it's sort of connected to, code of conduct being one, and also the new climate policy. The climate policy and the discipline policy both have a definition of bullying. So when the climate policy was required by law and we had to put that in place, it was mandated, that exact policy, without the ability to revise any of the language. It included an updated bullying definition. The discipline policy should have been updated at the same time to include an updated definition of bullying as well. So that's exactly what you're talking about. I don't see this policy in conflict with any other, but when we are looking at policy and revising policy, we have to make sure that the linking policies or other connecting policies are also reviewed to ensure consistency and coherence across all the policies that may have similar language.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so it's the awareness that there's this other potentially legacy policy, and if it's in conflict, that has to be addressed. If it's complementary, so be it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is a very general, straightforward. I don't see anything wrong with it, and I think it's in alignment with, general practice. So if
Hey, Erica, I thought for a number of these policies, right? 2000, 2100, 2221, 2130, 2131, 2132. I thought for a lot of these policies, we had recommended to sunset, and then there weren't any additional changes that were being made to these, right? So when I took a look at these and I reviewed them compared to, our last committee meeting and then the board meeting, there weren't any recommended changes here, to your point, right? In terms of we were recommending to sunset them. So I see a lot of these, and I think part of this was for us to just sit on it and digest and do a second review before voting to sunset a lot of these. I don't think we were recommending to change any of these, right? I mean, the only ones that I see that have revisions to them, there are 3 or 4 of them from this list. The rest of them, I thought we had agreed that, probably best to just sunset, and they were either covered elsewhere or, to David's point, and I mentioned this last time, they were words on a page that didn't say much.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm happy to go through all of these step by step just to sort of be diligent about it. But for the majority of these, at least in the 2000 series, it looks like we were just recommending to sunset them without any changes.
And I just want to reiterate, these are not required policies either. And there's no shipment model policies for these either. These they're existing policies. Sorry, Sharon.
No, that's okay. There are existing policies that talk about basically the structure of the system, the school district. So my question is, and this was where my change of heart came before our board meeting, was what harm does it do to have these policies in place, right? And clearly there was a need at some point in time back in 1989 when, Michael, you were probably in elementary school. But there's clearly a need at one point in time to create these policies. And are we missing something by saying we don't need that anymore? Is there harm in keeping these policies on the books? Because a lot of times, like, for example, I was having a conversation with Nicole about this afterwards. As you know, Nicole is also a lawyer. And she said, it seemed that sunsetting them, I understand how common sense, we were talking about, like, this is just common sense, get rid of it. And you and I are in agreement on that, Michael, during the committee meeting. But the more I started thinking about it, those common sense things, sometimes it's good to have them written down for protective purposes, because they're always useless until they're necessary. And if you have gotten rid of it and suddenly someone comes back and there's some sort of pending litigation that we are now exposed because we didn't have what we consider to be a common sense policy on the books. Not that it's required by the state, but it might be a covering ourselves, right, for something, that a loophole that a litigious person is looking to take advantage of. So my question is, if it's covered in another policy, absolutely, let's sunset it. If it's not covered in another policy, then I would say let's keep it, so as to cover ourselves. So yes, that's my thought on it. I am but one committee member. So thoughts, guys?
I mean, my initial thought is I don't have a problem with it unless, to David's point before, that there's some conflict or there's some update elsewhere that these policies would sort of, conflict with. But if not, I see no harm in doing that. I don't know, Erica, do you have any comments on that? Any view?
No, I don't think there's any harm, and it may not be included in another policy, but I think some of the conversation we had last time is that, like, it might have been posted as the general role of the superintendent when you posted the position and hired the individual, or other positions relative to some of the work that they're doing. When you post a principal's position, they have job descriptions. So like we talked about, the language being included in some of other policies, but also in just the general operations and documentation of the overall structures and systems of the organization as well. I don't see any harm in keeping it, but I don't think something should be posted on the website that reads December 4th, 1989, and we should continually review it so that the community knows it is being looked at, it is still relevant, and it's updated accordingly.
100%. I agree with that. I think, to make sure they understand that we are not just letting things sit there without being reviewed, we need to review them every once in a while and just say, yep, sounds good, keep it in place, right? Yeah. So I'm fine with that. And especially now with the new online system that Jody has brought to us, it really, to have these things, it's not like it's making the book any thicker, right? It's no harm to us. And just potential protection. So,
and I can also just add one thing with the new website. If we were to sunset a policy, it would still show up on the site. It wouldn't disappear completely, because if you'll notice at the bottom of the new policy website, there's something that's called revision history. So when a policy gets updated in the actual list, the old policy that was replacing it is now under revision history. So if we were to sunset a policy, it would go away on the main page, but it would be still listed under revision history as a policy that was sunset.
Okay.
So it doesn't completely go away anymore.
All right. So if we're all in agreement and we proceed with that mindset, there are a whole bunch of policies in the 2000 series that really just need to be reviewed. 2000 being one of them. 2100 being one of them. 2121 being one of them, just reviewed, no changes. I think all of the content is, applicable. 2130. 2131. I think this was one that, yep, we were reviewing. 2132, principals, no change there. 2210, this was looked at the board meeting last time for a first read. This will have a revision on it. 2220, representative and deliberative groups. That's just a review. 2231 regarding the policy manual. There are some revisions on that one. It mostly just updated it because while we do have like a big, huge binder manual with all the policies, like what everybody defaults to is the electronic online version of the posted policy. 2250, monitoring of product and process goals. That's just a review. And I think that's applicable to our district improvement plans and our school improvement plans. 2260 holds on destruction of electronic information and paper records. We reviewed this one last time. This is something that the district currently engages in. It just needs an update, but no changes required. I mean, just needs a review, no changes required. 2270, uniform treatment of recruiters. This was also at the board previously with the revisions reflected.
Can I ask a question? I think, unless my memory is deceiving me, which happens from time to time at this age, on 2270, we had mentioned that the portion where it was inserted or by electronic communication in the first part, but then the objection shall remain in force unless the district reissues the annual notification referenced above, or the parent makes a request in writing to the school counseling office to change your selection. Did we want to add by electronic communication in that? Wasn't that was suggested in the last meeting that we also incorporate in writing or by electronic communication to the school counseling office to change your selection?
Yeah, let me take a look at that. I thought I had changed it during the actual meeting. Let me look at the revision history on that just to make sure that that accurately reflects the conversation.
Good catch, Sharon.
Thanks. See how much fun this is, David? It's like combing your hair with a knit comb.
Stop! We're doing that. Stop.
Actually, Sharon, the
That's horrible.
Oh no.
the real treat is for you because you get to spend more time with Michael and I.
Yeah.
Just warming my heart, David.
All right, Sharon, I'm looking at my revision history, and on November 17th at 9:40 p.m., I did make the edit to include or by electronic communication up top. There was no revision made at the bottom. I can certainly add that if you think it's necessary, but I think it references, or the parent makes a request in writing to the school.
Counseling. Yes, should we say in writing or by electronic communication to the school counseling office?
Okay, let me add that in there. Maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, Sharon. I mean, between Hurlbut and WIS, we have constant alarm notifications of this. So we comb hair every night just to be safe.
So fun. Well, you know what? For what it's worth, I was in Barcelona last week with my niece and her 2.5-year-old. And as I arrived, they were combing her hair for knits. And I'm like, what happened? And they're like, we got a call from the preschool today that kids in her class. And I was like, oh, get me out.
I used to spray my kids' hair with that fairy tale spray.
Oh, we do that too.
Every day before they went to school, I would spray their hats and their jackets and everything else. It was a ritual every morning.
Yeah, it's not something you want.
Isn't it called like folliculitis or something? There's a policy for that, I believe. I'm not joking. There is.
There's Erica bringing us right back to the policy.
The official names is like a folliculitis or something. I'll find the official word. I'm mispronouncing it, but
it is. David, you have boys, so you would just shave their heads. Knits are basically the eggs for lice.
I remember in elementary school, the nurse would come through with black combs.
Yeah.
Is that still happening in 2025?
No, that's up to us now.
That explains some things.
I will bring the pediculosis capitis lice policy to the board for
Is there actually a policy on that, Erica? Because I haven't seen it.
I don't know if Weston has one, but I did have one in my previous district.
Because I've thrown a little bit of a fit there on that, which is the communication needed to be improved in terms of when someone is identified to have that in a classroom, the rest of the class should be notified. Not that you should out the kid necessarily, but the rest of the class should be notified.
Did they
And
not do that?
they had some convoluted policy where it's like, well, you have to have two reportable incidents in a classroom within 10 days. Well, within 10 days, the whole
That's
class.
been a long-standing issue, that policy on when you notify people in the classroom. That's been controversial for as long as I can remember.
Can we revisit that then?
Yeah.
Let's put
Yeah.
that on our policy committee meeting, because I agree with Nicole, 10 days, forget it. The whole classroom is infested
Yeah.
at that stage. And also, I mean, it's just like strep. If your kid gets strep, automatically you used to get a letter. And not if your kid, if there was a child in the classroom that had strep, they didn't wait till the second one got it to send out the letter. So let's revisit that.
And
Yeah,
I would
so-
heavily involve the school nurses in that as well.
Yeah, please have her come to the meeting so we can have her be a
Our-
part of the conversation.
Kristen Abreu is the nurse supervisor, and her input will be invaluable in that discussion. So Jody, can
Absolutely.
you note that for us?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that bird walk.
That little sidestep there.
Yeah.
Keeping
All
us
right.
on pace, Sharon, if you don't mind.
All right, so thank you very much for doing that. So 2270, you're inputting the makes request in writing
Or by
or by electronic communication to the school counseling office to change your selection, correct?
I just made the change. Yep.
Awesome.
When
Okay,
it
great.
when it surfaces to the board, that will be included, but put your eyes on it just to make sure, please.
Sure. Yep, you got it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
Awesome. 3517. This was one of the policies that we took a look at. I think you were good with the policy and the revisions that were made. And then I had Jim put his eyes on the regulation around the security of buildings and grounds and keys. So what you are seeing here is the original language that was sort of changed in red. There's some italicized language that is new. I'm not seeing the strike through language here.
Not seeing italicized.
Under E, responsibilities of individual issued keys.
Oh, keys.
I must not have gone down far enough. Oh,
That's
keys.
in the
Okay.
regulation.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jim worked extensively on this policy. I met with him a few times. We talked about a few things. He eliminated the language that was no longer necessary, which I'm not seeing in this copy. The one that I will bring to the board will have the strike through of the language that went away. It'll have the red language, and I will make this italicized language red that he added. So you can see the deletions and the additions.
Okay, so I have a question on this, just for clarification purposes. The keys, so we still do have physical keys in addition or in conjunction to the key cards, correct?
When you say key cards, you're referring to the badges.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have physical keys that still exist as well. Okay.
Correct.
So with that being said, are we currently, if someone requires a physical key, if somebody requires a physical key, they actually have to sign the key out currently, correct?
Yes, and that happens at different levels.
Okay.
At the school level for classrooms, it could be the building principal.
Okay.
But at the district level for keys that have greater access to spaces, that is through my office or my designee, Jim.
Okay.
So that
right.
people, just like with technology, there's different levels of users. With physical keys, there's different levels of access, just
Okay.
as there is with the badges.
Okay. So having said that, with badges in particular, are badges, say for example, a teacher, are badges activated? Can they access the school 24/7?
No.
Okay. So after school hours, like let's say on a weekend, their badges do not work, correct?
It depends. Similar to what Erica was describing related to keys, there are different levels of access for different types of employees. So typically a teacher would have access on on weekdays for a period of time that extends before and after the school day. They
Okay.
typically not have access on the weekends, though there are some cases where teachers serve as coaches and may need to have additional access because they're entering facilities on the weekends or in the evenings. So
Okay.
it depends on their role.
All right. No, that I just needed that clarification because, it's one of those things where obviously security, if there's a lost or misplaced key, I want to make sure that the restrictions before the key would be found, that there would still be restrictions around access to the building. So, all right. Excellent. Thank you.
Good question.
So,
Thank
Erica,
you.
I just want to thank you for getting this in front of Jim. That was one of my questions, just to make sure he had eyes on it. So, thank you for doing that. My second question before was, I think it had just keys, and so you add the access cards. So I think that's great. Is there any other means of sort of accessing the buildings besides keys and access cards specifically that we need to address? I assume that something like the Alertus, this is a separate question. I assume there's something like the Alertus panic buttons. Those are not giving access, so they're not required to be covered in this policy. Is there any other means are there fobs or anything else? Any other means of access that we need to include here, or no, keys and access cards covers it all?
Keys and access cards cover it all. You
Okay.
did mention the Alertus buttons at the last meeting. Jim said that, as you noted, wouldn't be applicable here for this policy
Okay.
because it's not about access with those.
Right.
But to my knowledge, and I only have a badge, ID card, and a physical key. That's it.
Got it. Okay, perfect. That's great. Thank you for doing this.
Of course, no problem. Thank you for the circle back with Jim, and it always is comforting that his eyes are on it. All right, so 3517, that's the policy and a regulation. All right. Can we move on to the 9000 series?
Can
I
we?
feel a little bit like Congress on this one, where I'm like, we shall pass our own laws. Where's the godlike clause in here?
Can we pause just for a sec, Erica? I have a question for you. In the last meeting, we were talking about policy number 6162, which is the survey of students. It was a new policy.
Yes.
I thought we were going to bring it back to this meeting. I just want to, I don't know why we didn't, but I just want to surface that and sort of get your input in terms of.
Yes,
I
we weren't ready to bring it back yet. We're still doing some work and research on it. Some of the language is really confusing, and we want to make sure that we get it right. I have Tina taking a look at it right now, and also we discussed the potential of having Tracy look at it because there are areas in pupil services and in curriculum instruction where surveys are given, and we want to make sure that it's really representative of the work that we're doing and that the language is really clear. It's a challenging policy. We're going to try to surface it at the next meeting, but I'm going to give it the time it deserves before bringing it to the policy committee to try to get it as close as possible.
No complaints here. I know that last time, I think even Sharon, if memory serves me, I think you even pointed out there was some confusion with the wording of it. So it matters that we get this right. So take your time. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't falling through the cracks. So thank you.
No, thank you for asking. I probably should have stated that at the beginning of the meeting.
Thanks. All right. 9000, everyone.
Okay. Oof, we're starting with a big one. All right, the 9000, role of the board member, powers, purposes, and duties. This is some additional language in red for your consideration. We updated the legal references and the statutes, and there is some original language at the top in black. I used the Shipman model policies to formulate most of the bylaws of the board.
Excellent. Okay, so this is Shipman, correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I was hoping to get a little bit of clarification on Section 2A. If you're familiar enough with it to help give some clarification, but it just seemed like to create, abolish, modify, and maintain such positions, schools, divisions, and classifications as may be necessary for the efficient administration of the educational enterprise. I was like, create, abolish, like these are big words. Is it just a general blanket statement, or is there anything specific that you could think of that would be covered that this, I don't know, any input or any clarification would be appreciated.
To me, it was just a general statement. And if you read the paragraph before, the board having authority to take all action necessary or advisable to meet its responsibilities under, the Connecticut General Statutes and the Weston Town Charter, including but not limited to, and it lists all of these things. I think the create, abolish, and modify, I associate those with Board of Education agenda items.
Okay.
Or committee work. You're sort of creating something to bring to the board, you're sunsetting or voting to not conduct something any longer, or approve things that are brought to you relative to a budget that might include the increase or reduction of positions. So I think
Okay.
the broad statement that allows for the flexibility in your agenda to do all of these things relative to the role of the board.
Okay. That's all. I mean, it's just a clarification kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it just sounded so grand. And I was like, ooh.
Yes.
Too much power. I'm nervous. Did anyone else see anything in 9,000? Because that was the only thing I saw that I just wanted clarification on. All right.
Okay. 9010, limits of authority,
I found one change that I'd like to make in this.
please.
It refers to our superintendent as a his. And that's automatically in conflict with our current administration. So maybe we can change it to a there so that it's flexible between male and female. And don't get me, I'm not going too far left on you guys. Don't get me wrong.
I was going to say, can we do a his, her? Is
His,
that
her
okay?
is fine too. I was just thinking there,
And
so there is
just-
easier,
yeah.
but his, her is sufficient for me as well.
I think just in full disclosure, I think in another policy this surfaced. I'm sorry I didn't catch it here. And I did put his, her, but I'm happy. We should just remain consistent, whatever it is that you desire for wording.
If you put his, her in there for the other policy, let's be consistent and put his, her in here for this one as well.
All right, hold on. I'm looking for it. Where is it?
It's in
Yeah,
the, board member, no individual, let's see, here. So superintendent of schools whose authority for administrating the educational program and conducting school business invested in his office and his professional and non-professional staff. So it's like the third line down in the first red paragraph. I'm like, Erica couldn't have put that in there.
Yeah, we also have the same issue in policy 9121.
All right, remind me when we get there.
You caught that. I didn't catch it there. Thank you.
Just in this one, this is just, I don't know if this is a nothing burger, but shall exercise respect in matters pertain to the responsibilities. What does that mean?
I'm trying to find where you are. Hold on.
Just in the first line of the red, of the updated language. Is that something that you just took from?
It's verbatim from the Shipman policy.
Okay, that's fine.
My bad. Sorry. I'm happy to revise it.
It's fine. I didn't know if you had put that in specifically, and I'm like, ooh, okay. Did
we do something?
Stating something, or did we do something?
Somebody crossed the line.
Not at all. And let me just put this disclosure out there. There's a lot of work to do on these policies. I am really, for the most part, striking stuff and just merging with the Shipman. Generally speaking, 99.9% of the time, what you see in red is directly from the Shipman policy.
Okay. And I assume for a lot of these, we're like order takers here, as opposed to, exercising discretion.
Somewhat.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I think we can exercise discretion, but there are, what Shipman gives us is recommended language based upon their studying of the requirements from the state. So we have to be careful with what we change. if we're going
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
any
I
changes.
know there are some things where it's like directly lifted from the state via shipment and that we can't change it. And so,
Correct.
okay,
All right.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
And these, I don't think any bylaws of the board are required policy. Jody, am I incorrect in stating that? I don't, there might be a few in the 9,000 series that
But
are,
they're not, most of them are not.
most of them are not. And those are the policies you might have a little bit more flexibility with.
Mm-hmm.
I love how we take it to Judge Jody.
Oh, I came up with some real doozies in wording. I think I gave one to Erica, where we were talking about the secretary, or it was actually one policy referred to the board clerk as the
Yeah.
executive secretary, and the language said, "Oh God, help me for saying this." It said something about to pleasure the board. And that wording was like from the 19 something. I was like, you've got to be kidding me how they phrase that.
Well, let's put that back in, Jody. I'm sorry. That's
Service to
hysterical.
pleasure and service the board.
Oh my Lord.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we've definitely moved on from
I
that.
resign.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. All right. Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad
it
that
shows
we
you
are.
how old some of these really are.
Yeah, which is
Mhm.
important to Erica's point. This is exactly why we have to
This is why we review
revisit.
them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, 9100 organization. I didn't see a need for any change there, but I leave it to your discretion.
Looked good to me.
Okay, 9110. I also didn't see any need for a change.
I
But-
do have a quick question about 9110 and as it relates to 9100, just
Okay.
because it's timely. Since the town is going through a charter revision, and one of the questions they asked us was whether or not we think the size of our board is appropriate. They don't make that decision, right?
I think it's a function of the town charter.
Yeah, it is the town charter that will make that decision as to how big our board is.
So how does 9110 and 9100 so if we're saying, if it says that for 9110 there shall be an elective board of 7 members, the town decides they're going to change the charter and we're a board of 5 or 9, does that is the control, the town charter would override this policy?
Would require a revision of the
Revision.
policy when it's
Okay.
actually enacted.
Yeah, same
Okay.
thing with I think that one of the things that they're revisiting in the town charter is not more than 4 of whom shall be from the same political party. I think that they're revisiting that aspect of it as well. So whatever the town charter ends up changing to, we just have to come back and revisit our policies to reflect the change. If there's going to be a change, we have to just revisit then.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's my understanding, and maybe you could help validate, Sharon, that these two policies currently reflect the existing town charter.
They do. Absolutely. Yeah. So these are fine.
Okay. All right. 9120 officers. This seemed to have a lot of revisions on it, but it's a very short policy.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Maybe they shortened it, but it seems fine to me. I don't think there's anything that needs to be added or
Perfect.
changed. Anyone else?
If I can get one more clarification, that was the upside to this policy. So the officer shall be elected no later than 1 month after the date on which the newly elected members take office. So that's just our every 2 years, essentially, because somebody is being elected, all the officers potentially change, even if the existing officers were not reelected. In other words, their term wasn't up for a reelection. They still had 2 more years. The people who are serving those roles still would be up for reelection to those positions.
It's every November. We do our board election every November. So basically, I think what this says, officers shall be elected not later than 1 month after the date on which the newly elected members take office. So let's say, for example, the newly elected members come into the first meeting. And my take on that is there may be some members who are unavailable to attend that meeting, so they can't vote, but they must vote. The vote has to take place within the 1 month. after
Right,
they,
but we only have change at every 2 years. We don't change the elected board doesn't change every year. It changes every 2 years.
no, it changes, it can potentially change every year. In a non-election year, if officers shall be elected in the month of November.
So every November you'll
Yeah.
do officers, but in an election year, you'll do it, but it has to take place within 1 month of the newly elected members.
Okay,
Yes.
that's that second sentence in there, or that
Yeah.
second one sentence, second paragraph. Got it. Okay.
And it also just so happens that our regular board meetings are the third Monday of the month, which is after the elections take place.
Right.
So it just so happens that we use our regular board meeting as the time for the election, as opposed to having a special meeting.
That makes sense.
Okay, great. Good questions. 9121 is official duties. There were some 4, 5, 6, 7 that the shipment policy had that weren't included here. So I added them for your review and consideration.
Looks good.
Yeah, this is that pedantic comment that I had. Point 2, for the board with their approval, the chairperson. So his or her.
Him or her is in number 3. Number 2, got it. Let me just go in and do that before I. Thank you for your patience. I do like to change them right when we're having the conversation. So when this comes to the board, there'll be a strike through on there and his or her will be added in red. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. 9122, Secretary Treasurer. I know this has a question.
We don't have a treasurer.
That was my question. Do we have a?
We don't.
Okay. Do you want to keep this as it currently exists without any revisions just to have, or do you want to sunset it? What is the preference here?
I mean, this is the interesting thing is that this basically, I'm the current secretary of the board. This basically lays out the secretary's responsibilities as what the clerk's responsibilities actually are.
Yes.
So the secretary's responsibilities are basically to take minutes during executive session, and to minutes being start, who was there, end, and topic. So, or not even topic. So I don't necessarily know if this is accurate for the way that our board currently
We talked about
operates.
this.
We did talk about this. Would you be comfortable with me striking through treasurer? Just because if there is no treasurer, let's just make it specific to secretary.
Perfect.
Okay. And also, Jody and I were talking about this, and if you read what I put in red, the secretary of the Weston Board of Education, the board, shall cause minutes to be kept.
Okay.
I didn't know. I mean, I was reading that like they're not actually taking the minutes, but they're working with the clerk or, like
Delegating, overseeing.
delegating. But if you want to make it really specific, I'm happy to revise all the language as you suggested, just saying they take the minutes of an executive session.
That's fine. You know what? It's fine as is, but should we add the secretary's responsibility is it actually says all meetings. So no, that's fine. It covers executive session. It covers special meetings. So I think it's fine as is.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with it.
I'm going to bring Sharon a new pen and big pad to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to give it right over to Jody. Jody's the expert minutes keeper.
I'm going to get Sharon one of those things that the clerks in the courts use where they're talking into that thing, whatever that's called.
Dictaphone.
Just think about the upside to the whole meeting. Sharon will be talking like this.
I'm going to learn shorthand. I'm so excited. All right. Sorry. Stay on topic. All right.
All good. 9126. Here is the clerk policy.
Yes. Boy, that's broad, Jody.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that it says shall appoint.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should appoint Sharon.
No. We appoint Jody.
And Joey's like, nope. That's
Because
you.
we've never appointed, it's always just been assumed.
Right, that it's the role
Mhm.
you're in. Well, do we want to change that or do we want to keep it as is?
I mean, we should keep it. I mean, the flexibility is we appoint the clerk. The clerk has been Jody, and it's just assumed it will always be Jody.
Or
But
maybe in your November meeting, like when you're appointing other people, you add this to your list to officially appoint.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
I like that. Appoint, anoint, whichever one.
Mhm.
voluntold.
Um,
You add a line there, or you want to just leave it very general? Like I was thinking, shall appoint a clerk during its annual
elections
elections.
in November. I think that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
but then what happened if Jody decides Aruba's a really nice place to stay, and she
Mhm.
phones in, not gonna make it next week or the week after, right? So do we
I-
want
Yeah, I would assume the same thing that would happen with a regular board member. You would then reappoint somebody else at that current time.
Yeah, we've been eyeing you over, David. We
Mhm.
think you'd be a really great
You want my pen?
I'll do shorthand and
I mean,
we had a meeting done.
to David's point, appoint a clerk, you could really do it anytime.
Yeah.
Up to you what you would like included or not.
Keep it simple.
Mhm.
Let's go with what we have.
Yeah, I agree.
And Jody, you're not allowed to move to Aruba.
No problem.
Forever leave us.
No problem.
Ever.
This is recorded, right?
But I've proved that I can work remotely, right?
Yes.
Again, you can never leave us. There we go. It's on the record.
Right.
I love my job.
Good. Good, because we need you badly.
Thank you.
Yes, we do. 9130. Committees.
Looks fine to me.
Even with the additions?
Yeah.
Good, okay. 9131, Committee of the Whole.
As basic, but yep, fine.
Okay, 9133, Special Committees, Advisory Committees. No
Good for
change.
me. This is going to be key now, too.
Yeah, filling vacancies,
Yep.
okay. I didn't get to read the charter, but I'm assuming it's in alignment with it.
Yeah.
9230, Orientation of Board Members.
This is the addition looks fine.
Okay. 9250, Remuneration and Reimbursement.
Looks good to me. David, bad news for us. We're not getting paid yet again. David and Michael.
What do you mean? You're not getting paid?
I know what I hear. We're passing this policy. Darn
Oh,
it all. This volunteering is killing us.
Thank you for
the
your,
benefits of being able to work with you on a consistent, ongoing basis, Sharon, are priceless.
I knew you'd say that. All right.
can I ask just a question to build my own knowledge? Are other elected officials paid on other boards?
Just the first selectman.
Okay.
That's the only person that's paid.
All right.
Elected.
So no like Board of Finance or building
No.
committee, like that. Okay.
Eric, I
No.
do have one question for you, just from your experience in East Haven and elsewhere. So, from talking to my friends in other towns, including friends on boards, Board of Education even, I asked them about vacancies on the Board of Ed and who fills them and appoints them. And from two or three of my friends, including friends just around the corner in Reading, they said it's all the typically Board of Eds will fill vacancies and not the Board of Selectmen. I know that East Haven doesn't have a Board of Selectmen, but do you have any like, I know what our charter says, right? So it's more like, do you have any firsthand knowledge of, is this typical or not typical that vacancies that occur on a Board of Ed are filled by a Board of Selectmen or a mayor's office versus the Board of Ed?
Yes, I've had several circumstances where there's been a vacancy for various reasons on the Board of Education and the mayor appoints the person.
Okay, so that's more traditional than like Reading, where the Board of Ed appoints a person. The Board of Ed as a board appoints a replacement.
I've
I've never heard of that before.
either.
Yeah, I just spoke to my friend literally last week because he was asking me if I heard of some name and so forth. There was some history there. And I said, no, why? And he said, oh, we're potentially appointing a new Board of Ed member. I'm like, who is? And he said, we are. I'm like, who's we? So the Board of Ed is. I'm like, oh, we don't do it that way in Weston. The Board of Selectmen does. So, okay.
That might be interesting.
Yeah, I
I
was
don't
more curious if what they're doing is not typical or if what we do is not typical. Again, because charter revision season is here, so.
I think that's, from my understanding of people that I've talked to who are board members in like Norwalk and Westport and stuff like that, it's always a selectman that does the appointment with the recommendation, obviously, of the political party from which the candidate originated, or the board member originated.
I would say it'd be highly unusual circumstance where the board is appointing the member.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I'm gonna go back to him and I'm gonna question him further. Maybe
Just tell him he's weird.
Yeah. Okay, simple, done. Okay,
Cut to the chase.
yeah. Go for the throat.
9270.
I saw something on that one. I'm curious, why is domestic partner of a civil union bolded?
Oh, I had the same question.
I have the same question. That's why I left it there originally and didn't unbold it. But when I downloaded it, that's how it appeared. And the public act at the bottom is bolded.
Right.
I didn't want to change anything because I didn't know if there was anything behind it. But is it okay if I just make it all the same font and format?
I would prefer that. It just seems silly. It seems like, why are we pointing that out? So yeah, I
There you
prefer
are.
that.
Okay, perfect.
As well as Weston is in red. I don't
That
know
was
why.
an addition. I don't know why.
I'm sorry.
I don't know why I added it there. I'm not
Right.
sure.
That works. That's fine. Sorry.
Okay. I could've been in a policy fog at that point.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Actually, I think I added that one because I
Okay.
didn't see it. It wasn't there. And I noticed that we had Weston Board of Education at the top. So
Got
I
it.
added Weston when I highlighted the bylaws revised at the bottom.
Can I
That was
Perfect.
I have one more clarifying question, and again, I only a little bit apologize because I'm new, so I get a fresh set of eyes. The term in that third paragraph, no member of the Weston Board of Education may be employed for compensation. So does that mean that there is an opportunity for employment where you're not paid? Or
Called volunteering.
well, but it's not, it doesn't say the word volunteer, so I would imagine you wouldn't explicitly put volunteer in, it's just what you can't do. So is it weird wording or is there actual an employment where you're not paid? And then although I don't know that anybody on the board is intending to do this, but we're always begging for substitute teachers, or at least, day-to-day substitute teachers. And I believe there's a David Mueller, former Board of Selectmen, is a substitute. Jody, you would know that. Isn't he like a building substitute or doing some kind of substitution?
I believe he is. Julie, is he one of ours?
He
I know
is.
he does sub. I know he is a sub. I'm not sure if it's in this district or not.
I've seen him in district as a sub.
Yeah. So my only question is, I don't know that it's going to come up, but that's kind of the purpose of the policy. What is the meaning of that? And then what if Sharon, who loves the Board of Ed and loves children and has no children in the school, so would love to get back into the school, decides I want to be a building
Wants to be a
substitute?
substitute.
Yeah.
Mm.
I can't do that because they can't have a volunteer teaching. I'm sure that the unions would have a fit about them bringing volunteers in to substitute teach. So
Mhm.
they'd have
Well,
to
that's my
be
point.
me. So
Right.
I can't do that.
She would not be able to.
So being a Board of Ed member precludes you from being a building substitute.
Nor would you be able to be a coach in a paid
Yeah.
position
Your dreams are being dashed as we speak,
Mhm.
David, I know, but
Yeah.
yes.
because you would be receiving compensation for that role.
But if you'd like to volunteer, we have many opportunities.
Julie.
This message brought to you by Julie Cavoni. Back to our scheduled policy committee meeting.
Okay.
Okay, 9271 Code of Ethics. there was a lot here, and in the interest of time, I really didn't feel like comparing the Shipman one to what was in existence, but felt like it was very similar. So I replaced the existing um sort of numbers in black with what is currently listed in the Shipman model policy.
Again, any reason for the bold?
No,
Fundamental
I
goals.
cut and pasted it in. It came out bold. I'm happy to unbold it, but didn't, because it was part of the Shipman policy, didn't want to make any changes until you put your eyes on it.
Yeah, I think if we could get rid of the bolding again, that would be sufficient.
I would be happy to.
It seems very general, right? Boards, members, so referring to multiple school districts. Point two, like for example, point two, board members and superintendents are staunch advocates of high quality free public education for all Connecticut children. I don't know. I read that and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, we're staunch advocates of the education for all of the children that are in our district. So it just seemed that this was just very general. I mean, it may be fine in a nothing burger, but I just wanted to, I don't know if that has ramifications at all. I guess maybe not. Just point two there. I thought it was a little weird.
Yeah, it is referenced somewhere else as well.
All Connecticut children?
Yeah.
I thought so. Again, this was right from Shipman. I'm happy to specify it directly to, let me just make,
I don't know what the harm is for keeping it broad
Yeah.
versus if we narrow it down. So for example, we do have kids that come in from out of district. So if we say high quality free public, and it's not even free for some of them, but free public education for Weston children. And I think
Well,
it's
this
probably
is
safer.
why I didn't say Weston children. This is why I said children attending basically in the Weston school district, which encompasses kids from, obviously they come from outside, but if it's fine, sort of just keeping it general, I just wanted to bring it up. That's I have no problem necessarily with the language.
Okay. I'm fine keeping it general, but
Okay.
thank you. I'll remove the bold.
yes, please.
Okay.
We're getting there. We're getting
Yes.
there. We're getting a little slap happy too. Sorry.
9,300 board operational goals. I didn't make any changes here, but certainly would be happy to upon your review.
I didn't have any, I mean,
I didn't either.
it looks fine to me.
Okay, great. 9,311 changes, additions, or removal in board policies and bylaws. This was a lot more robust in the Shipman model than the existence of the current policy.
Or is there something in here?
So there were a couple of things for me. Let me see. So what we struck in terms of the language, we talked about the proposal shall be reviewed at 2 regularly scheduled meetings of the board with a vote to approve or disapprove at the second meeting. Look, this gets back to the perpetual concern that I have with respect to it giving policies adequate sort of time to review and just sort of marinate out there before we actually pass and decide upon something. And again, Erica, I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but I am concerned with just loosening the policy in general, whereas it may make
Uh-oh.
Did we, I'm like, was that my, we
in
lost
certain
him.
circumstances. I be very direct and okay.
Michael,
This makes
Michael,
sense. You can
2
sunset.
seconds.
Can
We
you not?
lost you. We lost you for a while.
Oh,
You froze.
Really?
From
Okay,
the top.
sorry. Really quickly, I would just say that, look, I advocate the policy where we have, a review and then it comes to the board for 2 reviews before we pass something. And this policy seems to have loosened that up somewhat, right? We struck out language that says that and basically replaced it with language that says that essentially we can pass something at any time. I don't know if that was by design or if you just sort of, copied and pasted here, Erica.
Yeah, I just copy and pasted. It definitely wasn't as designed based on the previous conversations at the board table. Is
Wow.
there a place, as you were talking, I'm wondering, is there a place in the numbers below where we could add that, or do we just unstrike the existing?
So maybe in number 3, the superintendent in collaboration with the policy committee will prepare a draft policy statement for consideration and development by the board. And then maybe put in, there shall be 2 readings upon which the policy can be voted upon after the second reading.
Okay, maybe I just take that. I'm going to unstrike the sentence at the top that says the policy or bylaw proposed shall be reviewed at 2 regular scheduled meetings of the board with a vote to approve or disapprove occurring at the second meeting. And I'm going to put it right where you suggested, but I'm leaving it in black because
Okay.
it's the original language.
Can we take out regularly scheduled
Yeah.
meetings? And the reason I say that is because since we're going to be implementing that second meeting a month, right now, I don't believe those are considered to be regularly scheduled meetings, but I would love to be able to put any sort of policy on there so that we're not taking 2 months to get something to go through, but something can actually happen within a timely manner. We'll have a couple of weeks in between the first read and then going back to it as opposed to a month. How does everyone feel about that?
I think that makes sense.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So just strike regularly.
Correct.
Okay. And I don't actually think there's any harm in leaving the first sentence that was already in existence. The board may by majority vote adopt, amend, or remove a policy or bylaw. Are you okay if I unstrike that and keep that there?
We can, if you want, we can just unstrike this entire thing and then just take out regularly scheduled meetings and leave that. And then the rest of it can read as it is.
Got it.
So we don't even have to add it on to number 3. We can just leave it there.
Okay. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's done.
Cool.
Okay. 9313.
I didn't have any issue with this one.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right.
9314. I'm hoping this doesn't have the same issue, Michael, that you described previously.
My question here is, and this may be again nothing, but I guess there's a distinction between suspending policies needing a majority versus bylaws needing 2/3. Do you see that, Erica? Let me see if I can read that. So I think in point number 2, it says that basically policy of the board shall be subject to suspension for the purpose and limited time upon a majority vote. And then in 3, it says the bylaws, so as opposed to the policies, need 2/3. Is there a reason why there's a difference there? I'm curious.
I don't know, because my experience has always been, whether it's a bylaw or a policy, it's the majority of the board. But I'm wondering if the reference is Robert's Rules of Order, if there's something in Robert's Rules of Order that indicates such.
Okay.
And again, this was just from the Shipman model.
Yeah. And then my one other comment on this was in point number 1, it says policies and bylaws shall be subject to suspension for a specific purpose and a limited time. I guess is there no I mean, a limited time could be an indefinite amount of time. Is there a limit to that, to the term limited time, or I guess is that open ended?
I my understanding is that it's open-ended. And I was also trying to think, like, when would you suspend a policy? And then I was like, well, maybe the COVID policies are policies that might have been a group of policies that you would suspend.
We
And I
did
guess
that.
you would suspend them for an unlimited amount of time.
Yeah.
In a more simpler way, like occasionally we've suspended the 3-minute or 5-minute public comment. Would that fall under this as well?
Are we suspending it or are we waiving it in that case, David? Is there a difference? I don't know.
That's a good point.
I think you're waiving it because it is already an existing policy, the 5 minutes.
Got it.
So you're waiving it at the meeting, and the board can vote to waive.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's a
Yeah.
2/3.
That's a
Yeah.
2/3. Yep.
Yeah. So suspend and waive, they understood.
Is a waiving a 2/3, Sharon? Because I know that we've had this situation in the past and we've passed it by majority instead of 2/3.
We had an incident a year ago in November upon which it was not passed by majority.
Yes.
It was tied, and according
was
to
tied.
rules, it
It
should
was
not have
tied.
moved forward. However, we won't be sticklers about the fact that it did move forward.
I don't recall that event. You want to share with the rest of us that event?
I think that your political party, the head of your political party, posted about it just recently. So you
Oh,
can
really?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Right before the election. So you can go back and revisit it. I thought that was quite funny.
I remember being at a board meeting where somebody was requesting, like, the board to give a donation for an ad in a book. And there was a policy that limited the amount the board could approve in a year. And approving this ad in a book, which was like a congratulatory thing for a staff member, would have put them over the limit of that policy. So before they took action on that, they waived the policy. So
Gotcha.
they could approve it.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it gives us flexibility. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
But I
was
don't recall if it was 2/3 vote or majority, actually.
Hmm.
And what is it? So bylaws right now, it's reading 2/3, right, Michael?
2/3, correct. And policies is a majority. Again, I'm not necessarily disputing the language there. I'm just curious as to why it's different. But
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious about that too.
Do you want to hold on this one so we could take a look at it a little bit further and get some guidance on it?
How key is, I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt to ask specifically why it's 2/3 as opposed to majority.
Yeah.
During your next conversation with Shipman.
Okay.
Would you mind just getting clarification for us? And with that being said, I don't have a problem moving this forward with the caveat that we're, waiting for that information.
Okay. And I'll also take a look at Robert's Rules of Order to see if I can find anything in there as well.
Okay, thank you. I thought we were going to go to Judge Jody again on that one. She's pretty good with
Well,
Robert's rules.
Well, you know where I'm going after this meeting, to Jody. All right. Is everybody, I know we're 15 minutes over. I just want to make sure that we're being considerate. But I'm good if you're good.
I'm good.
I have a stop at 10:30, but yeah, we're good for now.
All right. 9321, time, place, and notifications of meetings. This was just sort of a cleanup.
Okay. By 31st, I don't have any problems with this one.
I don't know why it's in bold, but I will fix that.
It's really important. All of it.
I don't know, maybe it came with the legal stuff. Okay. Public and executive session 9322. This one was just a cleanup too, based on the language in Shipman's model policy. I see they reference a lot of general statutes in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was good with that.
Yeah, and
And-
I think this board is very, very good about adhering to that real specific to executive session and when you can go in and when you can't.
Right. We've had it hammered home enough.
9323, construction and posting of the agenda.
Look good.
Yep, works for me.
9325, meeting conduct.
Ooh, it was very, is this the one, let me say, where it was very sleepy? It was a little sleepy at the beginning. Okay, so here are my comments on this quickly. Let's see. So section C there on page 1, Erica,
Yes.
seems redundant because B says all board meetings shall commence at or as close as practicable to the stated time. And then C says all board meetings shall commence at the stated time. I think you can just, for C, you can say all board meetings shall be guided by an agenda.
Yeah, I agree.
You can strike that phraseology with that references time
Got it.
in section C.
Thank you.
Section 3, I'll just go through my comments quickly. Section 3, smoking. I'm curious, do we allow smoking of any kind in the schools?
We do not, but this appeared, I found it odd. I saw it in the shipment
It's odd.
policy. I went to the CABE policy and it was in there too. And I noticed it was in the old policy, your existing policy, I think, as well.
Everybody seems to have that in there.
I didn't want to take it out, but
Yeah.
What have we got,
I
Don
agree with
Draper
you.
on the board?
It seems anachronistic, but also it's, again, if you take it out, you're covering yourself by leaving it in, so just leave it in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Section 4, this is a little bit more pedantic. Section 4A5. The minutes of the meeting shall record a list of board members who attended the meeting in person, a list of board meetings who attended the meeting by means of electronic equipment. Now we've had this a couple of times where I just remember in the past we've had in-person meetings where Chad or Peter have sort of phoned in. I don't know that we've ever delineated, and Jody, correct me if I'm wrong, the difference between whether they were in person or not, right? Do we do this? Do we have to do this?
I will sometimes make note that somebody is remote as opposed to in person, especially for voting purposes. And I think a lot of this also came about during COVID times too, and this became a little bit more explicit as to how people were accessing meetings.
For us, it's more of a travel thing.
Yeah. We utilize it now.
And just, Jody, for quick clarifications, I think I remember reading about this during COVID when we were sort of doing these hybrid meetings, and we came up with our hybrid where we two times remote, 1 time in person. If I think this policy says that if a board member joins electronically and we're in, well, obviously therefore we'd be in, so we're in person, the board member joins electronically, that's permissible. It's that if more than, at what point do we have to, if we're meeting in person, allow the public to join remotely, to participate remotely?
I've read that as like I think we need, if everyone is remoting in and you have a quorum with those individuals in the same room, then you have to. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
So if we have a in-person meeting and the public is watching, the public doesn't have an opportunity to participate in public comment. Is that correct? Unless they're in person?
Not remote. If the meeting is in person, public comment is in person.
Correct.
If the meeting is remote, public comment is remote.
Okay, so
Right,
they
but
can't do a combination.
Right, but there's something weird. I think I read it in Lamont's original statutes, which this obviously incorporates. If
we were to have if our quorum was remote, then the public could participate remotely. But we've never come across that situation. We've only had 1 or 2 members. We've never been in a situation where the quorum, the majority was remote, and the fewer 3 people were sitting in a room.
Okay. Right. It hasn't come up, and I
No,
don't
it's
think it
never come
will
up.
come up,
No,
especially.
I don't think it
Yeah.
really would
Okay.
with us.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so those are my comments
Mhm.
in the first half. Where it gets interesting for me is in the public address.
Mhm.
So I'm glad we have you, David, now as the communications lead. So this has been, and you and I have talked about this, Sharon, many a time. You may disagree with me on this, Sharon, but I'll throw it out there anyway. This is a pet peeve of mine here is this 20 minutes per subject, per topic. So there are a couple things here. Number one, I think we changed the time here of 5 minutes to 3 minutes. So why did we do that? I guess number one. And then number two for me here is I know we changed it from 20 to 30, so we're being a little bit more liberal there. My preference is just to strike that, is to strike the time limit on any one topic. So that's you may disagree with me on this, Sharon. So I don't know why we changed from 5 to 3. I would love to keep it 5, I guess. I don't know that there's any other reason except for the fact that that's what people have been accustomed to. And so I don't want to necessarily take away people's time, from what they're used to. And then, and again, it may be innocuous, but the perception there is probably not great. And then my personal opinion, I was going to bring this up at some point anyway, so I'm glad it came up, would be just to strike this time limit for any specific topic or subject. From I know we're liberalizing here to 30 minutes. I would just strike it. I mean, again, we've had a couple of instances of this, and we've talked about it before. It's just not a good look for us, frankly. If people are tuning in to a Board of Ed meeting, and there are I don't know 12 people that feel passionate about a subject, and we're not going to give them all a chance to speak. It's just again the perception there is not great for the board, and so that's my preference anyway. I'd love to hear thoughts.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate those thoughts. The revisions here came at the request of the board chair. And to get away from 20 minutes on each subject matter, but to make it 30 minutes in total, regardless of the subject matter. And then also at the bottom, optionally, the board or chairperson having the option to move public comment to the end of the agenda if it exceeds the 30 minutes, or also putting another section at the end of the agenda for public comment to be continued after the 30 minutes.
So
I like,
And the 5 to 3 minutes was just a suggestion. So I informed the board chair that I was revising and was going to try to work through some of the bylaws because they were older. And when you have new board members too, it's always good just to go through a revision like this of the bylaws to bring it to the surface. And then the retreat with the board attorney was coming up. And those were recommended edits that I received.
And I can also tell you that after looking at other Durg A's and surrounding towns, none of them have a 5-minute per speaker limit. They are all either 2 minutes or 3 minutes. They do put limits on the amount of time that they will give to public comment during the meeting. And then some of them have that where they have public comment after each agenda item and it's limited in time. Others have public comment at the beginning and you get to a certain amount of time for people to speak. Then you go on with your agenda and then you could put the rest of public comment at the end. I think that the idea is that if you allow public comment to go on indefinitely, it's pushing the time limit of the business that you have to tend to further back into the meeting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess my only retort to that, and I'll let you jump in and sound off, Sharon. I guess my only retort to that, Jody, is that, but we are a smaller town, right? With a more, I would say we pride ourselves on a community based feel, right? and the importance of everyone having their say and voicing their opinion. And so I get it for, let's say, larger communities, right? I totally get that. I wouldn't want to sit there for necessarily for 3 hours listening to public comment on the same topic. I do think Weston is unique in a lot of ways, and this happens to be one of them. And so again, that's sort of where I stand, but would love your opinion, Sharon, on this.
So I am in favor of making it 3 minutes and overall 30 minutes, and primarily because with the option, of course, of adding additional public comment at the end of the meeting, because there are times where there's a passionate outpouring that people want to come in. The reason why I think it's important to have a limit on it is because there are also going to be times where that time public comment is being abused, right? And we've seen that in a variety of different meetings. If we want to reference back to not just last November's meeting, where they abused it, when they had reached the 20-minute mark and we let them know that, and then they tried to make comments on the same topic cloaked in another topic. You know, I don't want to talk about security. I want to talk about accountability, the accountability of the lack of security. And so it was kind of like, that was abusive, right? The same thing with the October meeting before, which is part of the reason why I was like, let's just hold it, is because I had to watch that when I didn't participate in that meeting. So I had to watch it remotely. And that was a very interesting 45 minutes of them basically reading the name of every individual that lived at the residence and all their children and their address of people who had signed a petition that we had placed in front of us. That was an egregious waste of our time, in my opinion. And so there are always going to be people who are going to do that. And I love the feeling of a small, passionate community as well. Don't get me wrong. We are all representatives of the Board of Education who have constituents that voted for us. There's nothing wrong with us having coffee with a constituent to get their information, or having a conversation with them in which they stress their viewpoint. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with them coming and giving public comment. But we have to also, our job is to listen to them, but our job is also to conduct meeting on behalf of the school administration and the board. So by giving them the 3 minutes, which is what pretty much every district in the state of Connecticut does, and keeping public comment to 30 minutes, there are going to be times, it's going to be few and far between, where they're upset. But if they're upset and they are really passionate and they want to talk, we can do a variety of things. We did it in the spring when we had the anti-Semitism, right? We can suspend. If we know it's going to be a really heated meeting, we can suspend, or we can add additional time on at the end. I think that we as a board can be reactive, but overall, we all know that there are people who are going to come in from time to time. Luckily, we don't have it that often, but from time to time, there are going to be people who come in and just abuse even the 5-minute rule. We've had members of the community who have come in and been given 5 minutes, and they start reading a prepared statement, and then they stop and somebody else comes up and continues reading the prepared statement. So it's like, and they're very wordy. It just becomes just an egregious use of the public comment time at that stage. So I am in favor of 3 minutes, 30 minutes overall public comment, with the caveat that if it's a passionate subject in particular, we as a board can react and expand or suspend, as we talked about earlier, or waive, or add at the end of a meeting as well. Mm-hmm. So that's my opinion on it.
That allows you to hear public comment, finish your business, and then come back and hear the remainder of public comment.
And again, it's because there are, as much as I hate to say it, there are bad characters in town who have nefarious plans for how they're going to spend, our board meeting time. And that's not fair to other people who are interested in other things on the agenda that have to sit there for 45 minutes and listen to the names and addresses of everybody that was on the petition so that they can get to the part of the meeting that they're interested in as well. So
I know we're getting, sorry, just cut you off. I know we're getting short on time. I do have feelings about this as well. And I don't think that if the plan at this point is to do a second read, I don't think we're ready on this policy. I'll just simply say, I'm not opposed to the 3 minutes. I am opposed to 30 minutes unless we add the words per topic. And it is very rare that we have a lot of people come out for topics, but I would prefer to see, this does not happen very often, and creating policies that chill public comment in description when we don't have a problem to solve, just for me is not a good look. So what I'd like to do is propose something where we meet in the middle. I am not opposed to the 3 minutes. I think that people can essentially get their point across eloquently, even at times emotionally, in 3 minutes. But I would like to modify the half hour of public comment to per topic, because that will solve for if there's 2 or 3 competing topics or 2 or 3 topics that people want to talk about and you get a big outpouring. We just saw this recently there was some board meeting in town that was highly criticized because they only took public comment for a certain period of time. And there were people who didn't have a chance to speak. So my point is, again, I know we're short on time. I don't know if we bring this back, but I would like to see if we can finesse it where it's a half hour per topic. It's a problem that doesn't really, we're looking for a solution to a problem that doesn't really exist. It's a rare occasion it does.
Right. But then we also have to police them staying on topic, right?
100%.
And that was because what they did last November was not acceptable. It was very
Well,
disrespectful to the board members.
Yeah, I mean, that's the chairperson's job, and I'm very confident that we can do that. I would like to see maybe just the modification of I'm good with 3 minutes. I would just like to say 30 minutes per topic. And I think that we've and we can close conversation on topic as well. So in other words, we can ask people, if anybody else wants to talk on this topic? And the answer is no. We move on from that topic. And if somebody wants to relitigate that, we can just let them know that topic's been closed. So maybe we can just kind of finesse this a little bit.
This is not going to the board for a second read. This will be the first time it's headed to the board. So it might be a good idea to bring it to the board with sort of as it is and dialogue with other board members. So then the committee can come back and do some work on it based on the feedback and discussion that transpires.
Yeah, I mean, having a full board discussion, I think is a healthy thing for us to do.
Okay.
So,
If-
okay, excellent.
Excellent.
Michael has to, he's got to hop. He's got a meeting that he's 5 minutes late for right now. So,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
We are almost there, I think. Are we almost there? Yes. 9325.1 quorum.
There we go. I didn't see anything in here that jumped out at me as needing to be addressed.
Okay.
Michael actually said that he didn't have any comments on the remaining either.
Yeah, I saw that.
9325.2 order of business.
Yep.
Okay. And then 9326 minutes.
Hold on 2 seconds. One thing on the order of business.
Yes.
It has executive session at the end. Whereas in the past, like for example, for our upcoming board, we have executive session ahead of time. It's not a part of the actual meeting. So is there any reason as to why executive session is inserted in number 13 there?
So so that's a great question. Do you read this as the actual order of business, or do you read it as this can be
Following items? I gotcha.
at the
Items.
discretion of the chairperson that may include in any order?
Gotcha.
Mhm.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't read like that.
No, it does. I actually, when I read it, I just kind of like started going through it. I was like, yes. And suddenly I'm like executive session, but reading that top line, you're absolutely right.
Technically,
So-
Robert's rules would dictate the order in which something would be presented. I see these as just items of conversation,
Topics.
not topics, not the actual order in which they would be in.
Okay.
Okay.
It's there.
Minutes?
Minutes looks fine. Hold on. Let me take a
I had one question on minutes.
Mhm.
For F,
Give me 1 second, David. I want to pull it up.
so I guess my question is, and this is probably right up your alley, Jody, because you probably know the answer to this. So would this be a scenario where a board member for some reason feels compelled that what they've said they want to be entered into the record? Is that sort of the concept there?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
Minutes do not include public comment. We only include a name and an address, and minutes only include actions that are taken. So a motion that you have taken an action on. The rest of it is just a very brief overview. So if, for example, a board member felt very strongly about a particular policy or a presentation that was going on, and they wanted something very specific in the record, that they wanted their opinion on record, that's what that would mean. But I've never done it in all the times that we've been doing this. We've never had that happen.
Right. That's why I was asking, because I was
Yeah.
curious what
We've never really used it, but it could be a case where there's something very controversial that's going on and somebody feels very specific about that. And that's at that point you would say, I'm requesting that this specifically be included in the record.
I've been at a board meeting before where a board member has actually prepared something in writing and as
Mhm.
part of the discussion of a Board of Education item, made that exact statement that Jody just said and read what he wanted in the record.
Exactly. That's when it would be used.
Okay, then I don't think it's ever going to come up, but just as Erica, that's exactly one of my other questions is going to be, if it's a verbal, I'd like to have this entered into the record, right? But it's some kind of long, lengthy, whatever. Can somebody, and again, this has never come up, but again, if it could come up. Can somebody say, I have this to enter into the record and waive, so to speak, the reading, and then just hand it to you? Because nobody likes to sit through, potentially 3 minutes of a board member espousing on something where it's written. So I understand with F, does it have to be read, or can something be submitted into the record?
That's a great question. It's always been read in my
It's always been read so that other people can hear it.
Got it. Okay.
It does say brief statement.
Brief by words or brief by time?
I mean, you could add the word "a brief statement read by a board member."
No, I think I understand. It was more understanding the spirit of it. So, and I see why the upside to reading it is that it has
It's
to
in
be
the
among
record.
the board known before it gets to the record.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good questions,
It's
though.
something that transpired during the meeting.
Okay. Anything else on minutes?
Nope.
9327 electronic mail communications.
I think Dan got number 4 in there. Good job, Dan.
Actually, that one was missing from the policy. I just pulled it from Shipman, but Dan will appreciate
Yes,
that.
yes, he will. Okay, that's fine. Everything looked good in there to me.
Perfect. And 9330 board school district records.
I'm a little upset that we're not charging people for them now, but yes, I think that that looks good to me as well.
Okay. And that is it.
Oh, let's add a few more in just for good measure.
I know this is a lot and I apologize and I really thank you for your time. I think it's really important that our public facing documents, in particular, bylaws and policy, remain current. And so I'm going to work really hard on behalf of the board to make that happen.
Good. You've done, I mean, this is a big lift already. So thank you for all that you've done and along with Tracy and Julie in getting us here. And we appreciate it. We will be the most zipped up policy board of education ever when we're all done with this.
We have Super Jody on our side.
We do, Judge Jody.
And Eric, I'll quickly say, I understand now the spirit of why you were asking in the past to waive a second read. Better now that I've sat through this. I think it's still a good look for us to do the second read, but I understand now I never thought there was anything nefarious about it, but I have a better understanding now of why you were looking to waive the second read. So I appreciate the extra insight that I get sitting here now today. I still think we should do the second read, but just know I never thought there was anything nefarious. I just thought it was a good idea, but now I fully understand why. Some of this is just right.
Yeah.
There's no, especially the no change ones, but sometimes just getting in front of the community so they can it might be the first time they're aware of the policy. They may have a kindergartner, right? And last time the policy was looked at was in 1995. They were not even here. So, but I have a better appreciation now, Erica, of what this process looks like and why you'd want to waive that second read.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. You make me think of a question though. The policies that aren't changing, that are just coming up for review, they will be on the board agenda as review. There's no revisions, there's no new language.
It's
It
just
does-
Just a review and an approval at that moment in time because it's already existed and we're just updating the date. It's unlike a revision or a new policy that goes through multiple reads. Those
Here's-
policies have already been through multiple reads.
Here's my thought on that, though, Erica.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but I think consistency is a good idea. And I think that these policies are in place. So us reviewing them really is not going to make a difference. And what it does do is it allows the public to, a lot of them may not have been introduced to them at all. And so if someone has an issue with an existing policy that we are like fine reviewing, they have that time then to make their voice heard based upon watching, the meetings. So that's the only thing. No harm, no foul. And as far
Right.
as they're already in place. So we are covered and protected. It's just,
That makes sense. Now, like, that gives me a better idea of how it needs to be formulated on the board agenda. I asked the question because how it's on the agenda needs to align with that.
yeah.
And Erica, I would also say what might be helpful during the agenda to move things along, especially things that don't require a lot of conversation, is maybe policies that are just simply a revision with no changes, batch those.
Yep,
I know it would get out of order per se, but I think from a, as our meetings kind of drag on in some cases, we get fatigue. And so maybe what we can do is just the policies that aren't, there are no revisions. It's just basically this looks good. We're just, batch those.
Reviewing. Yeah.
Right. So we can just, and we can
A
potentially,
first review. You're talking about the review policies. These are
Correct.
these are
Yeah.
the first review.
yeah. And then even during approval, for ones that haven't changed, because we could potentially, I think, Jody, we can batch approve those. So let's just say there are 20 policies that we're looking at, and of the 20 policies, 6 have substantive changes and 14 are just literally, it's the old policy from 1989 revised in 2025. If we have a bunch of those, we could potentially
Be a
just
blanket motion to approve,
Yes.
to
right,
approve
right. It's sort of
review
like
date.
Right.
Save some time. Save
Mhm.
some time. But
Yeah.
still give the
Right.
public the opportunity to read about it in the agenda because all the policies will be included in the agenda so they can have their read and then they can say whatever they want to say.
Just like
Right.
we do a blanket motion on a consent agenda, which includes staffing and donations and things like those, where you just do, it's a blanket approval for everything. You do the same thing for this. You have those policies chunked together that have been reviewed by the committee, is nothing more than a review date update, and we can chunk those together in a motion to approve 20 policies at one time and just get them off the table.
Yep.
because it'll move the agenda
Mhm.
forward, and it will help us focus on the ones that really we need to focus on.
Talk about.
Right.
Okay. So I think right now everything is moving forward for the first read, correct? Everything that we read, that we went through here with the changes that we did, we're modifying and we're sending for the first read. And we can have a discussion about them at the board meeting, right? Probably with 9325 being the one that we're going to want to discuss the most, meeting conduct.
Mhm.
And at and be prepared for second read at the next meeting, the facilities, or not facilities meeting, but the extra meeting. So
January meeting.
January meeting.
Mhm.
All right, cool.
But we'll batch together for December 15th, the same thing, right? Where policies that are just a revision, no changes,
Mhm.
first read, policies that
Mhm.
are actual have edits, first read, and then we carry that agenda
Mhm.
look or whatever forward, right? So
Second
that,
read. Mhm.
yeah, okay.
Some of them
Right.
will be a second read, though. I think holds on destruction of electronic information, uniform. There are a few second reads.
Mhm.
Okay.
If we have a second read that's going to be going right now, that will be in a separate
Yes.
bin. Perfect.
They
Okay.
are.
So kind of like 3 agenda items, right? Policies that are nothing more than a review, right? Policies that have changes, and then second reads.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
All
yeah.
right. Okay, so future meetings, I think we discussed at the beginning of this meeting that policy 5114 is something that we're going to need to start digging into to be prepared to speak about at the January 12th meeting. And of
We might be
course,
bringing back the survey policy.
okay,
It's
all
ready
right,
at that time.
all right, great. Anything else that you can think of for futures?
Oh, I'm sure we can come up with another series.
And now my big question, David, any regrets about joining the policy committee?
No, I'll just simply say it's nice for change. Curriculum is it's very dry.
Hmm.
It's very dry, especially, yeah, it's very dry. I would ask questions just as a non-educator and as a parent. Yeah. Any regrets with me being on policy, Sharon?
That's another discussion. No, I'm teasing. I
Give me
love being
another
in
meeting or
meetings.
two.
You know that you're on communication with me still.
I know. Yeah, both of them there. Yes.
I accidentally the other day thought Nicole was on policy as well. So Nicole, who's not, I said, I think Erica, you may remember this. I
Mhm.
said to Nicole, they really hitched Nicole's wagon, Michael and I. You're on communication with us, you're on safety and security with us, and you're on policy. And Erica, like, no, not on policy. But
She ran.
I think
Yes.
Sharon, really, you have to find out why they hitched Michael and I to you. Maybe it's you.
Well, they asked me to keep you guys like behaving well. That was what it comes down to.
What?
No.
That's weird.
No. I think
They
we
said the
all
same
work.
thing to us about you.
Hold on, Deb's playing us. No, I actually think the three of us work well together. So there's
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So anyway,
We
all right.
banter in the public interest.
Exactly. In yeah, the husband-wife thing. In the interest of time, let's get moving because everybody's got things to do. So next scheduled meeting for policy committee is January 12th. And
Mhm.
with that, David, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, I second. Thank you everyone for your time. Erica, Jody, thank you so much for massive amount of time you put into this and just keeping everything moving along too. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right, everybody have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Thanks, you
Bye
too.
now.
Bye-bye.